Today, we're talking about a movie that's been through production hell. It's been through the ringer of Hollywood. It was dead in the water. This thing was canned, but it was able to rise up like a phoenix in the year of 2022. Just barely got in. Even though it had atypical frame rates, the digital rendering was incredible, and the climax was an absolute masterclass of filmmaking. At least, that's what I had heard. I was in the mood for something new, something unexpected, something I hadn't seen in the last 10 years, and something that my introverted ass was nervous about asking for a ticket to go see. I mean, really, look me in the eyes and tell me you expected to ever say, "One ticket for Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, the greatest sequel to ever grace this earth." When you're making a big budget Hollywood movie, you always want to make sure your story is rock solid. You believed me? Most writers just wing it. I mean, how else did we end up with The Room?
Hi, doggy.
But if you're not Tommy Wiseau, you'll typically read your script at least twice, and you'll tweak it so it's as good as possible. Easy. Except no, tightly written stories are surprisingly hard to come by. Oftentimes, there's at least one section of the movie that feels really, boring and slow. Really slow. As a writer, you have an introduction and you have an ending, but you're not sure what to cram and shove in the middle of this thing. This endless void of uncertainty is known as the second act, and it's up to the writer to fill this with whatever they want. Sometimes the writer is smart and sends you off to grow up in a jungle where you can evolve your character arc, and sometimes the writer will punish you by making you fuck off to Canto Bight.
People give me about Jar Jar Binks and say, "Oh, this is stupid." Well, you happy I'm gone now? You don't have Daddy to kick around anymore because this is what you get. Let's just soccer balls, a robot, a hairdryer. Let's put a dildo in there. Why not? Because you know what? We're just fucking my saga right in the ass.
There were two films that I watched this year that really illustrate just how important the second act is when you're writing a movie. Both films had over a decade to get it right, so did they succeed? Well, yes and no. This video won't be as easy as, "This movie's good and this movie's bad," like last time. Much like a game journalist playing the Cuphead tutorial.
It's a little bit difficult.
In any case, today we're taking a look at one of the year's biggest movies, Avatar: The Way of Water. The first Avatar came out at a time when CGI movies were still in their infancy. Iron Man was the only MCU movie. I said it was the only MCU movie. The Hollywood landscape looked a lot different then than it does now. In fact, let's flash back to the year 2009, when your iPhone 3GS was blasting the Black Eyed Peas, and the hottest guy on the planet was Johnny Depp. Apparently. A good pick. Anyway, the original film itself was hailed as a cornerstone in filmmaking. Actually, I suppose it would be more accurate to call it a cornerstone in processing power. Let's be real. The first Avatar was just a free trial of the new CGI. I mean, it was really innovative for the time. I'm not denying it that. And people went to see it over and over again. In fact, Cameron managed to create a world that was so immersive, people actually became depressed and wanted to unalive themselves when they couldn't live in this Pandora paradise. Kind of cruel for him to release the sequel at a point in time where people have never been more depressed. What are you trying to do to us, Cameron? Let me be clear. I like Avatar 2. I think the special effects they were able to pull off are astonishing. Some scenes when they're in the water and there's fire behind them, God, it looks incredible. But if there's one thing I want you to take away from my channel, it's that looks aren't everything. Sure, it looks good, But eat my ass, Avatar 2. Is your story good or not? No Man's Sky has better graphics and a bigger universe than Half-Life 2, but really, which is the better game? It's just like dating me. Don't focus on the looks, baby, please. Not my strong suit. My point is, it seems like Avatar 2 spent most of its production time on its special effects, rather than writing the tightest and most interesting story possible. The first act does show promise, though. Avatar: The Way of Water is infinitely more fleshed out than the original. Jake and Neytiri have 3 kids, plus the child of Grace from the original. Jake Sully doesn't really have much of a character arc in the first film, but here he's much more interesting. He's gone from retired Marine to horny to protective father. He wants to fight the Sky People when they return, but he's placing a higher priority on keeping his family safe this time. And I think that's a perfect arc for him. I mean, it does work. It makes sense that after fighting, he'd want to settle down, start a family. He's tired. Neytiri, on the other hand, her arc is admittedly less clear. I think the writers just wanted to make her the most badass character, which I can respect. She's sort of the opposite of Jake, wanting to keep on fighting. Now, they're kids. I'm gonna be honest, I cannot remember their names. Like, at all. This is where the movie really falters, I think. James Cameron cannot write teenage conversations to save his life. Every third word is bro, and every 8th word is cuz. He resisted the urge to throw in a Riz, or a Fortnite dance, so yeah, I guess sanity's not all completely lost in Hollywood yet. Basically, the antagonist from the last movie is the antagonist again in this movie, just rebooted. He drives them from their home, and they go to live as water people in a new tribe. This is where the second act begins. In doing research for this video, I found a great blog post by writer and storyteller E.M. Welsh that lists several good tactics for avoiding second act slumps. You can explore side characters, create more internal problems for the hero, or you can divide and conquer. And I'm not talking about the last good episode of Star Vs. I'm talking about splitting up the characters. It's something that Avatar: The Way of Water tries to do. The second act of this movie almost works. It comes so close, but it doesn't quite hit it there for me. It's very repetitive. Here's your conflict formula. The younger brother decides to do something dumb for the right reasons. He gets into trouble because he did it, and they have to save him and or look for him. When they find him, Jake says you're a fucking disappointment, and that he could have been killed. He says he won't do it again, and then he does it again, they find him, fucking disappointment. It's just that for like 2 hours. There is some character growth here and drama, but it's very one-sided, and it makes the second act feel like blended together. Avatar 2 also shows us a story that splits its characters into 2 groups by age, the kids and the adults. Now, if you decide to do that, you need a realistic balance of screen time between these 2 groups. Because the movie shouldn't only have story beats where the kids get into trouble and the parents get completely sidelined. There has to be scenarios where the parents fuck up, or else it just becomes another generic teen drama. And we already established that James Cameron cannot write the teenager talk, so the teen drama thing was already here to begin with. These 10 things I hate about you copycats have their place, but I get the feeling that this movie would benefit from showing how Jake and Neytiri have lost a step as well. Not only does this prevent the film from being one-sided, but it also highlights the threat of the Sky People as more intimidating. In short, this movie has all of the right ingredients for a good second act, but I think they just couldn't pull it off. They needed a better balance of the 2 character groups. Has some good ideas, and I recognize Cameron's dedication for building up these new teenage characters, but I just think he went a little overboard. But there's another movie out there. Another movie with updated graphics. But it doesn't stop there. This is a movie that sees what Avatar 2 did and says,
who is your favorite fearless hero? Who is your favorite fearless hero? Who's brave and ready for trouble? Who's so unbelievably humble? Who is your favorite fearless hero? Who is your favorite fearless hero?
The first Puss in Boots came out in 2011. What happened in that first movie? Bitch, no one remembers. It's been so long since I've seen it, I have no fucking clue. The sequel would probably involve Puss in Boots pulling off some kind of heist, and it would end with him in his entrance in Shrek 2. This second installment has actually been in production hell for a while, with a proposed subtitle that was changed to match the story. The original title for this movie was Puss in Boots: 9 Lives and 40 Thieves, and that goes so hard. I really wish they kept it. Even though it didn't really make sense for this movie, it would have been so cool. The Last Wish just sounds a little too generic. I can't find any plot details for 9 Lives and 40 Thieves, but regardless of what it started out as, it sure did spiral into something amazing. Because the story of The Last Wish pulls a Spider-Man 3 and balances 3 teams of villains. And it has 0 scenes where Puss in Boots gets that W-Riz. And it has the best villain in any animated movie. So instead of being a sequel to a prequel in the Shrek universe, this film jumps the timeline a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean the whole timeline. This movie takes place after Shrek 4, the latest in the canon order.
I just love the smell of fear.
In this sequel, Puss is still fighting monsters and loving his life. He defeats a sleeping giant, but accidentally gets himself killed in the process. But since he's a cat, he has 9 lives, and he gets up, he's like, nah, I'm good.
Puss in Boots. How do I say this? You died. Doctor, please. Relax! I am Puss in Boots! I laugh at death! You see? And anyway, I am a cat. I have 9 lives.
But here's the thing. He's used up 8 of his 9 lives. He's on his last one. This is a film about mortality and how you only have 1 life. Later that night, he meets a mysterious bounty hunter wolf who challenges him to a fight. And he's so badass that he makes our hero bleed from the head. This movie's not fucking around. He actually starts to bleed. It's crazy. Being on his last life, Puss is so terrified of this wolf that he makes his way to this cat lady, where he hangs up the mantle and he becomes a regular house cat. Now we meet our first team of villains. Goldilocks and the 3 Bears invade the house to find Puss, who they want to hire and double-cross to find their way to the Wishing Star. The Wishing Star was introduced in the very first scene of the movie. It's a fallen star in the middle of the dark forest that can grant you 1 wish. Goldilocks doesn't find him, but Puss figures that he can use the wish to wish for his 8 lives back, so he can escape this bounty hunter. He also meets our dog's side character, who is nameless. It's kind of a running joke in the movie. Puss and this dog steal the map for the Wishing Star from the second villain, Jack Horner, who I had no idea who this guy was. I thought they made him up, honestly. But no, he is a fairy tale. And then they run into Kitty, Puss's love interest from the last movie. So now we have Puss and company, Jack Horner and his crew, and then Goldilocks and the 3 Bears all running for this star. Everyone in the story has been introduced, so we're on to the second act. So it's my opinion that Puss in Boots 2 has a better second act than Avatar 2. You may disagree, and that's totally cool. We can respect each other. But I can't deny that both times I saw Puss in Boots 2 in the theater, I was more entertained in the middle, even though I knew it was coming. So Avatar 2 splits up its characters, and it begins to develop its teen protagonist, with some world building thrown in for good measure. Puss in Boots, on the other hand, keeps its characters together. And before anything can happen, Puss and Kitty ask this dog what his name is, and he says that people call him a lot of names. Dog, puppy, hey you, get off that table, and lastly, shit for brains. Yes, this dog actually says the word shit. Like, it's censored with a bleep, obviously, but that's all. It's still in there. This movie is rated PG. I am at a loss for words for how they got that past the censors. I have no clue, but it's awesome. If this is the future of animated movies, I cannot wait to see Shrek call Donkey a bitch-ass motherfucker. So Puss in Boots saves its best jokes for the second act, which definitely helps with engagement. But don't worry, this movie does take the time to develop its characters too. They spend this entire second act by going through obstacles in the forest that reflect the negative sides of their personalities. So when Goldilocks holds the map, her obstacles are all nostalgia-based, because it's related to her wish for a real family. And when Shit for Brains holds the map, it's an easy path because he has no wish. This map that changes the landscape is a really clever plot device, because it allows every character arc to initiate. and then progress even if said character isn't holding the map anymore. The dog's environment conflicts with how Puss and Kitty progress through situations, so they still develop as characters. I mentioned earlier that Goldilocks gets to hold the map, which allows for character development on team antagonist, which is a rarity in kids' movies nowadays. The villain being sympathetic? No way! You can see how Puss in Boots is a movie that was built to have an engaging second act. So, what separates Puss in Boots from Avatar is the fact that the environment changes, and even evolves from scene to scene. With Avatar, it's pretty much all in the water, or underwater, water in my ass, water in my hair, water everywhere. Plus, Avatar 2 is like really long, which makes the entire second act one big Super Mario water level. Puss in Boots has the field of flowers, this dark part of the forest, this cave, this pink tree, the Three Bears house. I mean, it's all very distinct locations in terms of visual style. The pacing is kept quick, with a few slower scenes that let the character arcs breathe. The characters' emotional arcs do take time to marinate. So I've just hit you with a lot of information, and you may be confused about what the lesson of this video is. See, I told you that it's not quite as clear-cut as the last video, but there is a common theme. It all comes down to one word, one simple word: dynamics. A lot of people think of the first act as the only time characters and elements of the film can be established, but I'd argue that that's not the case. In that article we looked at, the proposed solutions for writing a second act all had a common theme. They expand elements that were already there. You establish the protagonist in the first act, and then you expand on the complexities of their character in the second. In Puss in Boots, this occurs when the audience learns of the reason Puss and Kitty broke up. And I won't spoil it, but it is great. That kind of character complexity isn't needed per se, but it is appreciated. Not only does the main character change, but so does the world around him. We learn the mechanisms of the Dark Forest, how it changes with the map. And of course, we get constant reminders of the wolf, which guarantees that we'll never stay in the same spot for too long. So while Avatar: The Way of Water deploys some of these tactics, I think we could mix it up a bit, make it just a little bit stronger. Alright, y'all ready for this? Strap in. First off, I think we can throw in some foreshadowing for the next Avatar. You guys have seen those rumors on Instagram, right? About the Ash people? I believe those have been confirmed at this point, so I think it's safe to say we can include them in this new version. Imagine a scene in Avatar 2 where one of the kids runs into one of these Ash Navi. You get a location change with the lava or fire, and it sets up a really cool event for the next film. Second, you can combine the two scenes where the younger brother befriends the Tolkien, and add a scene where Jake and Neytiri are talking with the chief and his wife about the Sky People. Maybe the chief keeps questioning Jake about the Sky People, their tactics, their weapons, because he's a good chief and he recognizes the importance of knowledge about how to defend his people from the Sky People should they come. This adds a bit more to his character, because a great chief is prepared for anything. The audience could then see a flashback of human Jake on Earth, and we could get a glimpse into what future Earth actually looks like, because I don't think we've seen that yet in Avatar. Lastly, a scene that develops Took. I think I'm saying her name right. She's the most underdeveloped character here. She's kind of the wide-eyed, well, they're all wide-eyed, let's be real, but she's the most wide-eyed, oh, I'm a kid, that's it, that's my only personality trait. She's that character in this movie, and I would have liked to have seen a bit more development of her. So a quick scene where she's talking to Siraya, this girl, a scene with them talking together would be nice, especially since those characters are seen hanging out throughout the film. Maybe she has a deep fascination for other islands, or even for jungle life. So, to recap, a scene that foreshadows the Ash Navi, a scene where Jake and Neytiri are talking to the chief and his wife, a flashback scene where we find futuristic Earth and we get to see a glimpse of what it looks like, and a scene that develops Took, because she really needs that development. I think doing all of these things, condensing some of those scenes with the Tolkien, adding a few more of other stuff, would make the second act feel more distinct and more dynamic. So, what do you think? I mean, is it good? Is it bad? Let's be real, my rewrites are going to be pretty shitty when I do them the first couple times, so any feedback really is appreciated. And remember, I don't think Avatar 2 is bad by any stretch of the imagination. James Cameron knows what he's doing. This is a seasoned director who's thought about this movie every day for the last decade. So I'm sure everything was calculated. I just think the story could have been a bit better. And that is how I would improve the story of Avatar 2. Let me know in the comments. As always, we have a Discord, link is in the description. We also have an Instagram where you can just see the full body outfit drawings, but they will be on the Discord as well. I hope you all have a cozy night, and I will see you next time.